Hi guys, my name's Hannah and I'm the C5 nut. Well, today is a interesting video. So I've bought recently a C5 that I had to go to Preston. Now there's a bit of a story with this car, so please I will put a link in the description in regards to us rescuing this C5. Now it's gone for its MOT, and my MOT guy was said it needs some work. So obviously I know, yeah, didn't actually realise how much. Some horrors, should I say, literally horrors. Now there is a hole, and the hole was only like minute, but my mate said you need to check it out. He didn't poke too much. Yeah, I did all the poking, and yeah. Right, I'm going to turn the video around and, well, turn the camera around so you can see what it is. So guys, this is the newest car that we've got. It does have issues, like the bodywork needs doing. There's a bit of an issue with the handbrake cable. My mate says there's a slight bind to it. So what we're doing is we're going to replace the handbrake cables, including the tubes. So I've got some brand spanking new ones. Now the horror is literally under here. Now I'm just going to quickly pull this away, and then I need a torch for this. Yeah, look at the size of that hole. Yeah. Now it is looking a bit damp there. It's only because I went a bit nuts with the old WD-40. But that, my friend, is a bloody great big hole. Yeah, that's gone. Now, regards to MOT rules and regulations, they aren't allowed to remove this panel. And obviously it's got the wheel arch cover on there, but my mate did say that because the panel was like that, he can just about see underneath. He couldn't really get in there very well, but he has told me that something's a bit, you know, it needs checking. So my plan is, obviously it needs a new top mount because that's busted. Now I've actually got some 18 gauge steel, really thick steel. My plan is to use a bloody great big hole saw. Now this is 152 mil hole saw. I'm gonna cut a hole out so that this is a new top mount. So basically, cut the hole out. The plate will then slot over this top mount, and I'll do the same with this one. And basically, it's almost like making a sandwich. So that will be the bottom, this will be the top. I will bolt it in and then weld it and then make it all nice and pretty and sort of rust free and all that stuff. I think with both this 18 gauge still should put the strength back in that car again. And yeah, I'm not actually going to show you how to do this because in all fairness I don't know myself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to crack on with this, and I'll... Right guys, so I basically went from a sheet of steel to some plates to now these, which fit over like that. Doing this one-handed, as the saying normally goes, is never good, but yeah. So my plan is put one of these on here first, put it on the car, and then put this one as like a overlay, so it's like a sandwich. So that will then sit in there, and then the actual old bit of the chassis will then be like sandwiched, and then all this will then just get physically welded to the car, so it's nice. You know, basically I'm putting more strength back into this side, because obviously when rust attacks the metal becomes weak. So in order for me to reverse that, obviously get rid of all the rust, treat it so that the rust can't happen again, and then basically weld these in. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a long day today, but ayo, let's crack on. Right guys, so I've taken the bonnet off, I've plugged it into Alexa and dropped the car down. When I come to disconnect the battery, what horrors are we going to find? Oh no! Not a Lion battery. Those in the know that these batteries, they're really cheap, like really nastily cheap. Yeah. Cheap and cheerful, especially on any C5. The higher spec ones have quite a lot of delicate ECUs and stuff, and sometimes when you get electrical gremlins, 9 times out of 10, if you change the battery, that normally solves the issue. And the reasons behind that is, yes, the battery will produce power, which is your current, as well as the voltage, but there's quite a lot of other things that people don't understand is resistance. Now a battery can have, like the cheaper versions could have a completely different resistance to a most expensive battery. That's why on some C5s, if you put a nasty looking battery in there, sometimes it can give you a bit of electrical gremlins. Now this particular battery, okay, it's done its job, the car still runs and drives, obviously because it's a mid-range spec car, but terminals are heavily corroded. The battery looks pretty old, and because I'm disconnecting a battery and doing some other work and stuff, you know, obviously we want to get this car where it needs to be in our fleet. I bought it a new battery. Now the ones I do recommend is the Bosch battery or the X-Side. I prefer the X-Side, but if you can't get one, go for a Bosch. They're the two batteries I do recommend for any C5. Yeah. Right, so after removing the bonnet, I've still got to remove the scuttle, and I've got to move this plate to give me full access into this area. Now, the more I look into it, the scarier it becomes. That is a massive, great big hole, literally all but round. Basically, the whole, you get the logistics of it. So yeah, I can guarantee that if we didn't get the car would have died within a year or so, give or take. I would say within a year it would have died and gone off to the scrapyard. But we caught it in time. Yeah, we're gonna fix it up, do what it needs to do. Later on this year, we are going to sort the bodywork out. And I tell you what, guys, give it a couple of months, this car will be absolute gleaming. It'll be amazing. Right, I'll crack on with this. I'll come back to you in a sec. So, just in case I get some comments, corrosion, as you can see around on the battery terminals, that's never good. It normally means that the battery's on its way out, but also the corrosion can then spread into the rest of the car, which then enhances corrosion, and before you know it rots out. So I did take it out. Lucky enough, it is a plastic battery tray. I'm going to just double check around this area, make sure there's no other corrosion that I can see. Obviously the battery terminals need a good old clean. Yeah, that's quite bad. to say the least. But we'll get it there, not a problem. Right, let's crack on. Right guys, where do I start? Yeah, so I've removed the strut from the top mount. I did put a plastic bag over the top, but clearly that's fallen through, so I'll sort this out again. Closer inspections don't look too bad. Okay, there's a couple of corrosion here and here, but nothing too major. And again, on the top, I mean, the metal is still quite relatively thick around this area, and there's a tiny bit of corrosion here, but apart from that, it's not actually too bad. The worst bit, right, my hands are quite slippery. Right, so this is the old mount. Yeah, this is a piece of rubber, and it's completely, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. That's just completely gone big time, literally just chunks of it falling out. Yeah, that's a really bad one. Yeah. Looking at this, I would say probably the car had about 6 months life left in it, and then that would have gone straight through the bonnet. So let's twist that one. So that's what it looks like from there to there. You can see the good and the bad. Now I will say this is a reconditioned new one. Well, second-hand one. It has been on a car before, but it has been sort of reconditioned with like new boots and stuff. Now there's two different types, and it all comes down to the hose in the middle. Now there's a smaller hose, which is a 3.5mm, or there's the Hydractive 3 Plus, which is the much bigger 10mm. Now this is the 3.5. These, believe it or not, are starting to become a bit of a nightmare to get hold of, especially the Hydractive Plus 3. Now my green car is the same, well, my green car has the same issue as this one, so yeah, not entirely sure why all of a sudden they started to rust here, but clearly that's a thing to check on your car. So guys, if you wouldn't mind double checking all your cars. If it's starting to rust, treat it with rust treatment. You don't want to get it as bad as this, because there's a possible chance we may not be able to get these parts. So yeah, what can I say? These bits of metal, I might have to trim it down a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to have to trim it down, they're far too big, but that will just basically sit in there and get welded. And there's two, one for the top and obviously one for the bottom. So yeah, right guys, I'm going to trim all this down and I'll bring you back. So guys, yeah, I went a bit too crazy with the old metal there, so I've now welded the new piece into the car, and I've just put a load of sealant stuff that we got out of work. I've got to let this dry. It will take about 20 minutes or so for it to dry, and then I can then paint it. So at the moment it looks worse off, but it's not. And there's the underneath. Yeah, like I say guys, it looks a bit worse underneath, but I will say it's a bloody nightmare welding a C5, because they treat the metalwork during the process of the car being made. It's almost like it's that anti-corrosion stuff. I can't pronounce the word, it's on the top of my tongue. Like galvanised, that's it. The chassis is like galvanised. When you actually weld it, it gives off like a bit of a blue, like a whitish bluey colour smoke, which normally happens when you actually weld yeah, you know, metal that's been treated. So I have tried, you know, obviously use the angle grinder and got rid of most of it off, but there was like 1 or 2 spots that you couldn't really get in there, but we got in there. That's the main thing. Yeah, and what we're going to do is use some of this. Now I use this all the time for my day job, fitting underslung gas tanks. In all fairness, I might be able to show you what this stuff actually does. So here at my work, obviously I work on motorhomes, but underneath here is when we actually use this stuff. Where is it? Oh, there it is, in the corner there. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Right, so that there, not too far, let's come back out. So this tube thing just here is the gas tank that we normally fit, or my colleague normally fits. And once we have actually fit it, we then cover it in this stuff. So it's rubber guard, coarse textured underbody and stone chip coating. Flexible, fast drying, heavy bodied, no bitumen content. So that's what we're going to use to protect that C5. So yeah, I'll give it another sort of 5 minutes or so, and then spray this stuff. Regards to where you can actually get this stuff, I'm not entirely sure. We actually get it directly from Kent themselves. How much is this? Again, I couldn't tell you. I'd say it's about 30 quid. It's bloody good stuff, but well worth it in the end. So what I'm going to do, give it a couple of minutes, I'll spray this and I'll bring you guys back. Alright guys, I got a bit carried away here, started rebuilding it. That's what it looks like. I know it may not look pretty, but the thing to bearing in mind is there's no more rust. Everything's all strength back in it. Went a bit nuts under here. Yeah, it's nice and clean. Yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, you ain't gonna see this, you know, it's underneath a car, but the main thing is it's no longer, you know, there's no more rust in it, so this is, you know, all fine. This is a bit wet again. It's only because I took the top mount off, all the fluid came out and everything else. The discs are looking, yeah, looks like not only have I got to change the cables, but looks like I'm going to have to do disc pads on it as well. Yeah, what can you say, eh? What can you say? Right, yeah. The thing with older cars, and especially like this is only 20 years old, and to have a bit of corrosion, in all fairness, the car wasn't as bad. It's only just made to look bad because of the old mount. I mean, yeah, that just says it all, really. You know, yeah, it's a heavy bit of metal there. Yeah, what can you say? So bloody greasy and all that. So yeah, so I've still got to put the undershields back underneath the car. I'm going to tighten it all up. Also I've got to clean the electrical connections because they are just ropey as you want to go ropey. And I've just double checked the passenger side. Tiny bit of service rust, but nothing to shout about. So what I might do is just quickly clean this up and rust treat it. But yeah, that's perfectly fine. Seeing as it's only just the drivers. Miserable day out there. Yeah, I'm glad I'm in a workshop. Right, let's crack on. So I'm just halfway through sort of watching back some of my video. Just want to make clear to you guys that my MOT tester does a brilliant job. He sort of, he's spot on. They got like a little toffee hammer thing, and they go around checking on all that. But I will say, I was beating the hell out of this one with a bloody great big mullet hammer. So his version of knocking is completely different to my version, which is destructive. But at the same time, if the car can handle, well, basically I'll show you the hammer that I used. Now what did I do? Yeah, right, so this is what I was using to check the rust. So I was beating the hell out of it, like proper full on. Now MOT testers aren't allowed to use this and go dang 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 dang, because yeah, they could damage. What they are allowed to use, and I've got one on the floor, well, it's very similar to something like this. Now you see there's the size difference. You know, this one is quite lightweight and this one weighs an absolute, yeah. So I don't want you guys to think that, you know, my MOT guy is doing a fast one, because he's not. I used to be an MOT tester. I know what rules and regulations are. Yeah. And regards to seeing the light through the wing, I actually put a screwdriver in. Well, let me just show you. So I can actually, like, where the wheel arch is, I can actually like put the torch just inside. So, you know, unless the wheel arch wasn't there, you wouldn't have actually seen the light coming through the top here. So yeah. So yeah. Before you guys make assumptions, yeah, don't. Right, let's crack on. Right guys, so yeah, I've done a little bit more work to it. I took it to our sister workshop, which is across the road, and got it on the ramp. My colleague, as you know in this video, is using the ramps for the motorhome, so I had to take the car to the sister site. I didn't bother filming because obviously, one, it was dark, two, well, there's a lot of echo going on in that workshop, and two, well, three, you've already seen it before. It's only changing handbrake cables. So again, I'll put the link in the description. There's something else you don't actually know about this car. Well, there was a hint in the last video. So this car was actually being chipped. And I'll tell you what, they've done a bloody good job of it, I tell you. So it was 110, it's now 145 something brake horsepower. So that's only just reprogramming the ECU. And I tell you what, it does yeah. Believe it or not, this car is actually a lot faster than my green C5, and maybe I should do that as well. Maybe I should get that remapped. You never know, that might ask for revenge, should I say, on this car. But this car is really quick. If you're considering about doing a remap, please do. It's worth it, trust me. It's really good on diesel as well, more so than the white one. Although my dad might argue with that, but yeah, I'm actually, I mean, this is like car number 9. Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned car number 10. But I might add a video, possibly add onto this one. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm gonna. And guys, yeah, so it's the following day. Me and my dad, well, dad's only just left, but it was only like, we only got back a couple of minutes ago. Yes. Car number 10. Yes. Yeah, we bought it. Oh God, I need help. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do a video. I've taken some photos, which I'm going to add. But flipping, it was, when the guy was telling me that he was going to scrap it, I had visions of it needing all this and all that. And when we got there, me and my dad had a bit of a bet going on. And I sort of lost. Because Dad was like, it's going to be amazing. And I was like, well, if the guy's talking about scrapping it, then maybe there's an issue. But yeah, it was just like, when we got to it, it was mint. Like, really mint. It's only had like 2 owners from new. The guy who currently owns it is, health-wise, is not doing too good. He's also DVLA took his license away, hence why he's now selling the car. But the funny thing about it was, he tried to sell the car and he couldn't sell it, hence why he was going to go and scrap it. But yeah, so it's a 2006 car. He's had it since 2007 up till now. It's got full, and I mean, like, the paperwork was thick, full service history. It's always been garaged, like, all the time. The only time it ever goes out was like for its MOT or when he goes shopping or taking his wife out. He took it to Budapest, of all places. So he's done quite a few miles. I think it's 140,000 miles off the top of my head. We did take it for a spin just round the block, and even though the area was rated to like 20 miles an hour, yeah, just putting it in first gear and just dump the clutch, that's got some torque. Like, that's really got some torque. It's 175 brake horsepower. It's a 2.2 HDI bi-turbo. So it's an animal. Very quick. Has niggly little issues, like the the headrests on the rear are missing. It's got a bit of bodywork sort of related. I mean, when you get up to, when you see it, you just don't see it. It's only when you get up close you can sort of tell. And strangely, we had that engine running on the driveway and it decides to switch itself off. And I was like, what the hell? Why would it switch itself off? I'm hoping it's just a one-off, but if it starts switching itself off more, then there is an issue. Yeah, I just couldn't believe. But apart from that, it's mint. Like, yeah, it's got sat nav and all that stuff, and no leather seats. But then it is a VT. Well, I want to say VTR, but it's not. It's a VTX Plus. So that'll be interesting to see what the brochures are regards to that sort of car. Yeah. So yeah, we bought another C5. Right, guys, if you wouldn't mind sharing my videos, obviously that helps the channel to grow. We want to try and grow this channel as much as we can. Obviously all we do is specialise in Mark 1 and the facelift, i.e. Mark 2 C5s. I've also started, so I've now, it's becoming official that I've now the Citroen Car Club C5 register. So if you would like your car to be on our register, I just need some details from the car. I don't need to know who you are, what you are, don't even need your contact number. This is only just to make a report of the surviving C5s. Already on my list, I'm seeing 4 cars in a space of a few days of each other have been built. So yeah, I know who them owners are, and they're close friends of mine, which is quite bizarre. So it would be cool to sort of do some sort of meetup with them sort of cars. But yeah, this is purely just to see how many C5s are around. Obviously we're not going to get every C5, but we want to try and start doing a record of the C5. So if you would like your car to be on our register, if you wouldn't mind sending some details, or even email me at c5registrar@citroencarclub.org.uk. I'll be able to get your messages that way, and we can then chat and take some info. Right guys, if you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And just may, at some point I might do another video. Take care, see you soon.